Welcome to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. My name is Melissa Moore, the Retail Advisor and Rethink Retail's top retail expert for 2024. Each week, I'll be joined by industry experts, retailers and brands to dispel the myths, share knowledge and give you an insight into the retail industry. You can listen back to previous Retail Tea Break podcast episodes on your favourite podcast platform or, of course, on YouTube. And while you're there, please do subscribe to the podcast so that you get to listen to it first every week. So in the meantime, grab that cup of tea, sit back and listen in to season 6 of the Retail Tea Break podcast. So today I'm joined by a guest who has an unbelievable track record in retail. And she helps others along the way now too. So as a consultant, she provides businesses with custom plans to strategically improve their D2C operations. With her team, they specialize in developing store operations, manuals, financial analysis, budgeting, sales reports, and departmental development. It's unbelievable. Linda Johansen-James, CEO of International Retail Group. Welcome to the Retail Tea Break podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm so excited.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of yours, so I'm very excited.
And the feeling's mutual. This is going to be a great conversation because I think we very much our ideas about retail and physical retail and the people within retail definitely align. But look, in the age-old tradition of the Retail Tea Break podcast, the question I always ask people, Linda, is in the time that it takes to boil a kettle, which I'm told is about 2 minutes, tell us a little bit more about you and, of course, how you started in retail.
And you're only giving me 2 minutes. Okay. So, so I've been in retail for about 26 years now. I absolutely love it. And I think in our prior conversations, we talked about this. And the reason I love it is because we get an opportunity to really make a difference in people's lives, not only in our customers, but in the people that we work with, people like you that we met on LinkedIn and our employees. I think, more importantly, so my husband and I real quickly had a company for 18 years. We were the largest owner operators of carts and kiosks and pop-up stores in the world. We operated 500 locations and all of the employees worked for us. So we also started the automated retail business where we put skincare in automated retail, and we were the first to do that. So represented a skincare product called Proactive. And we sold almost $2 billion worth of product in the common area shopping malls. So my husband retired. We sold the company. My husband retired. I wasn't quite ready for that. So I started IRG.
Good grief. I love the way you skip over the 500, retail outlets, the couple of, all the money that's been made for the company and, and everything you do. It's just, and that's what you're about, Linda. It's, you really do take it back to basics. You don't take for granted anything you've had, but the learnings you have, what was it like going back and starting that brand initially? Because again, I suppose you were almost first to market, were you? With your carts within these shopping centers.
Yep.
Like, how amazing.
Well, I love that question because when we first started in the common area, one of the first carts that I opened was actually a wagon wheel cart in a shopping center. So listen, when we started in the cart business, I mean, listen, the shopping malls, first of all, hated us. The inline tenants hated us. There was hawking. There wasn't merchandising. The people weren't professional. We weren't considered retail. We were called cart operators, if you can imagine.
So there was like a snobbery around the fact that you didn't have like a physical store with physical walls. You were just in the middle.
Yeah. We were not retailers. And so my husband and I took real offense to that. And so we spent the next 18 years changing people's minds. So we were the first to have a standardized merchandising schematic across all of our stores. And by the way, we operated in 4 countries. And so North America, Australia, and New Zealand. We tried to come over. Well, anyway, that's for a different podcast. But but we were the first ones to develop our own POS system, standardized POS. We were the first ones to have uniforms. So the long story short, is we spent our careers speaking at ICSC, at Recon, at Spree, anywhere we could to explain to people we were retailers who chose to operate in the common area. Now, you and I know, Melissa, because you're a retailer at heart, which is why we get along so well. And you know that when you operate inside of a store, people actually have to like what they see in the window, right, to come in. So that merchandising is really important, right? Because if you're going to get me to stop, you have 3 seconds to get me to stop, right? And so with a cart, people avoided you like the plague.
Oh,
I
because
mean,
they were just walking anyway. So you were almost like in their way in some respects. You were just there.
yes. So what we did is we were also the first to add a television onto the back of the kiosk, playing the infomercial with people like Diddy and Jessica Simpson, Avril Lavigne. All of those people actually use Proactive. And so we played the infomercial so people would stop. So we have a real passion for the common area, and you can imagine what it was like selling zit cream. How do you stop people and talk to them about
But
acne?
also, it's interesting because it's not a pickup. It's not like a lollipop or,
But
a
no,
bag of
no,
chips or crisps. This
right.
is real specific stuff. And you had to find a way, as you said,
Yes.
to stop them from walking by.
Yep. And not to say, boy, your face looks really. What do you say? So what we did is we were also the first to come up with a scripting. So we trained all of our employees, listen, you're talking to someone about their skin, something that's so personal. I mean, you can change a lot of things and you can hide a lot of things, Melissa, right? So if you're overweight, you can dress a certain way. If you have bad hair, you can put it up. I mean, there's so many things you can do, but if you have bad skin, you can't hide it. So we had a very personal sale. So we scripted our people and we taught them how to talk to people about their skin in the common area while you're smelling popcorn and pretzels.
Again,
And
it's almost it sounds so normal now, but when I
yep,
look back, so you're giving your team uniforms, you're
yep,
scripting them and therefore
yep,
training them how to
right,
speak to the customer. And as you said, you've also got POS, you've got,
yep,
digital marketing, you've got the
yep,
media going. You
yep.
were so ahead of the time, Linda, in everything you did.
Well, we were very blessed. We had some great partners too, Guthrie Ranker. They were phenomenal. They were mentors and great partners. So they provided, the stars and the product. And we were so blessed to be their only distributors. And so worldwide, you could buy it from them or buy it from us. But for us, it was about making a difference in people's lives. Melissa, we change people's lives with our product. We change their lives. And you can imagine that talking to people in the common area about their zits and then having them come back every 60 days to purchase that product, that's an art. It's not a science, it's an art. And
It
I
absolutely
think
is. Yeah.
and I think you and I have had this conversation multiple times that retailers need to remember that today. Taking care of your customers is an art. It's an art that you are responsible to train the people that represent you and your brand.
And there's the thing I was
There's
waiting
the
for, Linda, because
key.
it
Yeah.
is, because as you said, you've got a great product. We
Yeah.
know now these carts are great. You've got the tech, as we've
Yep.
talked about. You've got the branding.
Yep.
But unless you can put the person with the product, talk about the benefits,
Yep.
understand the problem that customer has, you
And
just have everything that everyone else has in that retail mall. And you know what?
exactly.
That customer could have gone anywhere. So talk to me about the people, because from talking
Mm.
to you and knowing you now for quite a
Oh,
while, it's the people that make the difference in your business. And obviously how you now go on and support other retailers.
yep.
It's the people that you really believe drive the business. But in order to do that, you've got to train them. You've got to give them that script, as you talk about.
Yeah, and I remember when I trained people on our scripting and said, well, I'm not going to use that. I really feel like I know better, right? Don't you hear that? And I'm like, here's the deal. You are going to use it because it's tried and true. And we've proven that if you don't say, hi, welcome in from from the back of the store, but you literally give them that 4 seconds to walk into your store because they expect you to pounce all over them, right? So we really believed, and by talking to our customers to find out how they wanted to be sold, how can we help you? So we spent a lot of time doing that. And listen, my employees, they worked in a cart in the middle of the mall selling zit cream. And my average employee stayed with me for 16 years.
16 years. Some
We
retailers nowadays, sorry to cut across you, Linda, some retailers nowadays are lucky to get 6 months out of their
are
employees.
lucky to get 6 days.
Yeah.
Think about it. Our employees stayed with us because they knew that we had their back. They knew that we were going to give them all the tools that they needed to be successful. I truly believe, Melissa, that people do not take a job saying, "You know what? I'm just going to do a I'm just going to do a crappy job. I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to do anything." The reason they do that is because of the way we treat them, the way we don't train them, the way we throw them in there without any training. So with my clients and as with my employees, that by the way, we hired and trained over 54,000 employees.
There's another crazy figure, Linda.
There's another
54,000
crazy
people.
figure, 54,000. And I can tell you this, that I'm helping one of my employees now actually launch in retail. I stay in touch with the employees that used to work with me. These people became my family. They were our family. We treated them the way we wanted to be treated. And that's where I think the disconnect is today with today's retailers is they don't look at it. Maybe they should, well, let me step back. Maybe they should go work the store. Maybe they should actually understand what it's like when it's slow. Maybe they should understand what it's like when you get a customer screaming at you because some person on the C-suite made a return policy that the customers hate. But they're not the ones that listen to it every day. We are, right?
There's another Linda, you're banging them out this afternoon. You really are, these incredible little nuggets. But isn't that so true that at the end of the day, if the people making the decisions really knew what the frontline retailers were going through, were being put through because of their decisions, but
Yep,
also the reality of interacting with customers. Because again,
yep,
there's no way you could have written those scripts had you just sat in
no,
an office somewhere. I'm sure, again, you did it yourself, you sold
yep,
yourself, but also I presume that you observed what was going on. So
yes.
you made these scripts realistic and therefore achievable for the people that were delivering them.
And you know what, Melissa, that's such a great point because even as the CEO and founder and owner and every other damn title you want to give me, 80% of my time was spent out in the field. And you know why? Because nothing happens until something sells. So you and I don't get paid. The CEO doesn't get paid. The controller doesn't get paid. Nobody gets paid until what? The people out in the field sell something. They pay our paychecks. They should be treated the way the people in the corporate office are treated. They should be treated because they're the ones that pay our paychecks. And that's how we believe then. That's how I don't own anything now, but what I do now is I take those learnings and I help brands, entrepreneurs, first-time retailers, and seasoned retailers to understand the dynamic of their customers and their employees. And until they walk the manufacturing floor, like my favorite mentor, Jack Welch, said, get out and walk the manufacturing floor. You cannot dictate what to do because you're dictating policies that nobody likes and nobody, right? You know, Melissa, you believe that way.
Absolutely. And I think what's brilliant to hear it from you, because again, with all this experience, having had all these employees over the years, turning a phenomenal amount of money. Because again, I think
Yep.
there's a real misconception that great, we'll focus on our people, but our profit and our margin's gonna suffer. But actually you prove that's not the case at all. But again, what I love about this is it's almost become the trend now to look after the
Yes.
people, to talk about internal service. So
Yeah.
the EX experience of all
Yeah.
our people. Whereas you've been doing it for so long, but again, you've married that EX, so that internal, employee experience with the customer experience,
Yeah.
and you've seen success. It shocks me and maybe it shouldn't have been in this industry for so long, that
Yes.
there is still so many incredible retailers and incredible brands that don't see the two together.
No. And don't care. I mean, frankly, if they actually walked in their store or they mystery shopped their stores and actually heard what was happening, right? I mean, there's so much technology out there, and we can talk about AI and technology and footfall and where people stand and how long they stand and da 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 da. Listen, I've done all of that. Okay. We were the first to develop, we spent $1 million and developed our own POS system when it wasn't even people weren't even thinking of doing that, right? We were the first to put cameras on our carts so that we could understand. Greg Ranker came to me and he said to me, I mean, listen, this was so important. He said, I want to put cameras on because why is it that your average order value is so much higher than ours online? And I said, because of the customer interaction. You can't upsell online. You don't have me. So we put cameras up, and after about 2 weeks, he came to me and he goes, this is unbelievable, Linda. He said, the passion and commitment that your people have to helping these people change their lives by helping them get rid of their acne. It's it's unbelievable. Now I see why your average ticket value is 70 and ours is only 40. Because when you have that person there, you can say, you know what, Melissa, you not only need this, but let me explain to you why you need to add this to it too. So if the C-suite and divisionals and regional managers of our retailers and shopping centers actually spent their time doing what would make the cash register ring, we wouldn't see all these store closures. We wouldn't see this employee turnover. We wouldn't see a lack of commitment because they would know what is happening there, right? So that's what
Completely.
I train my first time entrepreneurs. Listen to me. Do not sit in the outer tent. You need to be right there. Don't sit up in the ivory tower and dictate to people,
Which
right?
so many do. And it's great then that you've brought us onto that. So obviously you have this phenomenal career, and I don't use that word lightly,
Thank
phenomenal
you.
career. We've seen these stats that you're throwing out, like you made a euro last year, and that was that with 10 people. We know you've got longevity. We know you've got retention. You're turning over a phenomenal amount of money. You're there with your tech and your media and your marketing.
Yeah,
And now very graciously, you're utilizing all this knowledge to almost pass it on to the next generation of
I
retail.
hope
So of
so.
course, now you're teaching, minding, mentoring retailers, as
Yeah.
you said, that are coming up, some that are starting out, some that have finally realized that your way is the better way. How does that work? Why is that development for them, I suppose, so important to you? And how do you do it?
I So listen, I love retail. I love it. I mean, they're right. I mean, I never thought I would because I do not have a career in retail. I have a career I've owned several companies before I met my husband and we had AKM and subsequently now international retail. I have been in sales my whole life. I think I just love interacting with people. And so for me, if you're going to launch a business, it's my responsibility to help you. I feel like that for those of us like you that have the experience that we do, that whether it's paid for or we donate it, like doing podcasts like this that we can share with people, to me, getting the word out, because otherwise the industry that we know and love is going to keep going away and stores are going to keep closing. I use Macy's as a perfect example, and I'm sorry, but I have to because, with the announcement that they're closing 100 more stores, they thought maybe this smaller footprint would make a difference. Well, I think I told you, Melissa, but I'm the local CBS television in-house retail expert. So we talk about retail and what's going on. And when the new footprint of Macy's, that smaller footprint, it was going to be such a big deal. It was going to be smaller footprint, better service, new items that you couldn't find, da da da. So they asked me to go and check it out. So I did. And I said, "Well, it's Macy's in a smaller footprint." It's not. There's no new products. They don't have any more staff. The customer service is still the same. If you can literally find someone to help you in a store there's no staff. There's one person per floor that rings everybody up. Mind you, these are 38,000 square foot stores, right? I mean, they're anchors. So for me, we have a responsibility to help people see that, listen, what you're doing isn't working. So you need to change it. If your people don't want to be scripted, then here's what I told my people. We have policies and procedures and operational policies to help you help us help the customer better. And once you understand the scripting and why it's important, you can then, when I feel you're ready, add in your own personality. But if that's not something for you, then I'll help you be successful somewhere else.
And I think that's really honest of you, Linda, because again, look, retail isn't for everyone.
No, of course.
Front-facing customer service is not for everyone. But I think what's brilliant is you've given people the opportunity to get in there. You've given them the tools. And it's scary that even today, retailers might have inductions or onboarding where they talk about policies and procedures, but they don't go far enough when it comes to being on the shop floor, whether it's product training. And I'm
Yeah.
sure we could have a whole other
Oh
episode
my
about
gosh,
product
we
knowledge.
could.
Absolutely, but they don't give the guys on the floor the tools to enable the conversation. And I do
Right.
think it comes down to that, especially in these post-COVID times where we know it's hard for some people
Yeah.
to interact face to face, to have those
They're scared.
conversations that are really natural. They are scared, but we're not helping
Yeah.
them.
Some of my best employees told me they couldn't sell.
Wow.
And I said, here's the deal. I don't want you to sell. I don't want you to sell. I want you to understand why the customer walked through the store or walked next to the cart. I want you to understand why. And then I want you to educate them. I don't want you to sell them. As soon as you start selling them, they're going to give you every excuse under the sun. Now, if you, by asking open-ended questions, find out what the customer needs are, and the you read the customer and you understand maybe they don't want you to be close. I invade people's spaces. I know it. I'm an invader. I'm a hugger. I'm a toucher. All of that. So during COVID, I had a really hard time
Mm.
because I want to walk right up and say, "Hi, Melissa. Welcome. How are you today?" Right. And I want to touch your shoulder and I want to do all of that stuff. But with today's HR policies and procedures, invading people's spaces, right? We had to train our people. Well, how do we give that kind of service without invading their spaces? So that's when we learned to give people 4 seconds before you approach them walking into your store. And then you walk up and then you read them. You can tell if someone's like you, a hugger, toucher, whatever, and you can act that way. But if someone's really standoff, then you train your people. How do I deal with all of these different kinds of people? Well, you put it in your scripting. You write a scripting for them. You show them this is what you do if this happens. And then you keep following up and you keep training and retraining. We do videos, online videos, so people can refer to videos. So there's so many ways that you can keep that training up and help your people be successful and not afraid.
And also that's a key thing there that you've said. It's all well and good landing that initial training. Well done, company, for doing that. It's
Yep,
the reminder. It's the constant bringing it back to what you said you'd do. It's ensuring that team around you is all doing the same thing as well, which is really lovely. And again, that new version of using technology or using videos is
sure.
fantastic to keep that momentum going. Because again, I really fear right now, an awful lot of retailers might be dropping training here and there. No
Yeah.
one's following up. No one's checking that you've got it or that you need more support. And I suppose that then kind of leads me on to mystery shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about mystery shopping.
Well, I believe that what you expect, you inspect. Okay. So, how do you know? I stole that
We'll seal
from
it too.
I stole that from Ronald Reagan, one of our
I
ex-presidents,
love that.
but it's so true. So, how do you know what's happening in your store? So I asked one of my clients the other day, he goes, "Well, I have cameras." And I said, "Okay, great. So, what happens when they're outside of your camera peripheral? What happens then?" So, mystery shopping allots us an opportunity to show our people and to reward them for a great job. So that to me is the first reason why we do that, because we have to reward our people for doing really well. So when it's a great mystery shop, and I'm so passionate about it, I've actually started another company with two other people, Ian Scott and Audra Lamoon. So unless you know what's happening inside your store when you're not there, this is where Rima can come in and help. So it's all like full circle. I train, help retailers, shopping centers, da, da, da. Ian, he does merchandising and retail safaris. Audra does customer service training for third-party operators and for developers. So all together, we take all of that experience and we now are sharing it so that you can really understand what's happening with your customer experience and change it. So you don't have to close any more stores like Macy's just announced they're closing 100 more. No, let us help you. Let us help you get back to basics is really what it is, right? I train my employees on the first day. I said, here's the deal. Anyone that walks through that door, just think of them as your grandma. How would you treat your grandma?
That's
You wouldn't treat
exactly
her
it,
the way
isn't
you
it?
just treated me. I'm telling you that right now, because she'd be like,
It's incredible to hear you talk about that, Linda, because it just, as you said, back to basics. I'm a huge fan of that. And it's
yes,
stripping all the nonsense back. Because I do think sometimes we make it incredibly complicated and it doesn't need to be. You talk about the retail that I know and love.
yep,
Very simple, getting the basics right first, then you layer up the technology, then you layer up all the
yes,
nice shiny things. But again, unless you can treat your people in the right way, they're not going to treat your customers in the right way. And how can you grow? So I suppose that's the big message from this episode, is that
I
bringing
think
it back to
so.
basics, getting the help and support like you offer, like I offer,
Yep,
is so important.
yep.
But we've talked about all the positives. I've got to kind of ask then, over the years, with all this incredible growth, with all these incredible success stories for you and your people, any challenges that you can share with us that maybe
Of
again
course.
we've got a bit of an insight into?
Yeah, listen, when I started, when I started IRG, COVID hit like 8 months later and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, I had at the time, I was operating almost 30 locations for clients. I mean, I had a full assortment. And so one of the things, I do is, I can help by negotiating the real estate and and writing manuals and hiring and training and doing all that. But I can also run the stores for my clients who don't want to run stores, who want to really concentrate on their online. So when when COVID hit, everything shut down. I had no business. So I mean, I went from being very successful to no money. That was a bit of a challenge for me. So I spent 4 months doing a lot of personal development, taking courses, trying to figure out, well, maybe what's my next step going to be? Maybe I should try something else. Maybe this is God's way of saying, Linda, maybe there's something else. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's not. So, because I love retail. So during that hard time, started IRG magazine, and, which you were one of our pivot articles in there talking about you and pivoting your career because you've gone through the same.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so I think when you're the most depressed and you're the most down about what's happening in your business, I think maybe due to age, I've learned to become introspective and look at, well, then if I can't do this, what else can I do to help this industry that I've grown to love, right? So IRG Magazine was just that. It was interviewing people like you who made a big change in their life, who pivoted from one thing to becoming you're an entrepreneur, running your own business. And so telling these kind of back end stories that maybe people wouldn't necessarily hear in shopping centers today, or none of these great publications that I, by the way, read every day to know what's going on. But this is really telling back end stories. And now we do 3 of these a year, and we have 30,000 distribution.
And you have the
Otherwise,
time. I love the way you throw it in there, like you have all the time because you're not busy. But again,
well, I'm
it's
not busy.
phenomenal with everything you do, like the magazine. You're giving back, you're sharing your knowledge. Like, again, I know I've been in the magazine recently, but apart from
Yes.
that, there's phenomenal stories in there. There's great
Thank you.
interest and knowledge shared, across the globe, which I think, again, and I say this to my students, even in class, you've got to go out there and see what others doing. You've got to take
Yes.
inspiration from what's happening across the globe because, it's great to talk about little old Ireland, but there's so much more out there. And you've supported people doing that with the magazine, much like what you do, I suppose, with the physical stores, whether it's,
Yes.
the mystery shop or whether it's the training. I almost feel that the magazine is another kind of vehicle for your expertise. So it's a fantastic kind
Thank
of
you.
asset to have. And I'm definitely going to pop the links in the show notes here so people
Oh,
can go and
thank
have
you
a
very
read
much.
because, again, it's a great resource and it's very modern. It's very clean in that respect. It's a
Chic,
really
isn't it?
good
It's very
read.
chic, huh?
Love that word. It's
I love
fantastic.
the chic. Listen, I have a great creative director, Brad, and a great editor, Shannon. I'm very blessed, and people like you that allow us to tell your story, which to me, like we talked about Lush last time, and teaching and helping clients like you do. Lush has the perfect business model. And Casey, a big shout out to you because regardless of where I go, whether it's in Europe or regardless, here in the US, Canada, always great customer service. So obviously, they have honed in on what makes a great customer, regardless of whether you buy anything. Their people are kind, professional. I visited one in Rome when I was there, in Paris and Cannes, and everywhere, and they're all the same.
And you know what you're going to get, which is what I love
You know
about
what
Lush.
you're gonna
That
get.
smell obviously meets you at the door, but the
Yep,
merchandising is good. The
yep,
pricing is that, like, there's never a price missing. It's always fully stocked. And the people that serve you want to get to know you. It comes back to what you said a kind of a few moments ago. They're not actually there to sell. They're there to build a relationship to ensure
yep,
that you come back and that you do, you come again for the right reasons. They're not pushing stock
yep.
on you. And again, that's something else that retail right now, we've got to stop pushing goods. We've got to start building relationships.
Well, and the one thing that I would love to say, before we end, I could just talk to you forever because you're so good. But what retailers need to look at is the LTV of their customer. And that to me is so key because if you don't know, when I say LTV, people are, oh, well, what's LTV? What does that mean? So, and I'm like, it's the lifetime value. Do you
It's
know the
so
lifetime
important.
value of your customer? One of the things that we did so many years ago when no one else was doing it is we knew that 80% of our customers came back every 60 days to buy another kit from us. 80%. When, by the way, they could buy it online for cheaper. But they
Wow.
bought it from us. Why? Why would they get in their car, drive 10 miles to the shopping center when all they had to do was order it online and every 60 days it showed up? Why? Because of the customer experience. And why is it that we don't use that word enough? It's about people like me, my age, baby boomers, Gen Zs, millennials, even the older generation. They want to touch and feel. They want to talk to us. So why aren't we using that figure ahead of everything else? Why aren't we investing in what's going to make the lifetime value of the customer longer? Because I'm telling you that I don't go into stores when I'm treated badly. I don't go back. Do you?
No, and actually thinking about that, it's very interesting. Again, stuff you're talking about here can be talked about every day with our,
Hey,
retailers on the shop floor, these mini huddles we have in 5 minutes.
yes.
Do you know the LTV? Do you know the last time certain customers came back? Can you tell me why or why not? There's
Have you called
so
them?
many good things here. Exactly. It's incredible. But yeah, I don't go back. And if anything, I rant. And that's the scary thing nowadays. I might not rant publicly on social media, but I tell my friends and family, I would tell people not to necessarily go to places again, or here's the place you get better service, or they'll appreciate your custom because at the end of the day, when we're treated bad, we presume people don't need our money, they don't want our
That's right.
custom. Which again sounds really basic, but to bring it right back to what you've said so many times, This is why stores are closing. It's fundamentally because there's not enough money coming through, because they haven't
Yeah.
done their work with the customers, they haven't built a relationship. Why would you go back?
And you know what's interesting, when the economy hits and it's bad, like in 2008 or 9 when we had the Great Recession, people stopped coming to the mall. So all these retailers were complaining and closing, and even most recently, and I train my clients, I don't care what the economy is. I don't care what the rest of the mall is doing. If you're doing your job and you are treating each customer like your grandma or your nana, I'm Nana. So if you treat your customers that way, regardless of how the mall is, regardless of how the rest of it is, your customers will come back. So you're not going to have to worry. You're not going to be banging on the developer's door saying, "What are you doing to bring traffic? What are you doing?" Instead, you should be asking yourself, "What am I doing? What am I doing? Are you clienteling? Are you clienteling? Are you calling your customers? Are you texting them? Are you doing whatever it is that I don't want to be called, but you can text me. I mean, everybody asks them. If I'm going to call you, Melissa, when a new product comes in, because I'm going to want you to come down and try it on, how would you like me to contact you? Do you prefer email? Do you prefer call? Do you prefer me to text you? Ask them. And then put it in the POS system. Put it in your little recipe card file, which, by the way, I still teach people to do, with their customers, right? They're clienteling. Pull it out every 2 weeks. Call you, say, "Hey, Melissa, guess what I've got?" You know how you love that purple top? Well, guess what? I got another one in today. And I put it in a dressing room for you. I mean, this is the stuff that to me is second nature, but it's not being taught anymore.
No, hyper personalization. There it is in a nutshell for physical retail. And yet, most retailers don't have the time. They task too much. There's 101 other things to do apart from actually talk to and build relationships with our retailers. This is explosive, this episode. There is so much in it. But one last question then before I go. And
All right.
normally it's what's coming up, but I'm not even going to ask you that, because what I
Okay.
really want from you, with all your incredible experience, if there's one key takeaway for those watching, those listening, what would that be from you, Linda?
Take care of the people who take care of your customers. That would be one. Take care. See, it gives me goosebumps even when I say it. Yeah. Take care of the people who take care of your customers.
And they'll take care of business. And that's, it is as simple as that, isn't it, really?
It really is.
Fantastic. Oh, well, look, if you've enjoyed today's podcast
I've
episode, certainly as much as I have, and as certainly as Linda has there, please do like and share it, because there are so many nuggets in today's episode. Remember, you can also listen back to previous Retail Tea Break podcast episodes on your favorite podcast platform, or of course, watch them back on YouTube. And if you're not already connected to Linda and myself on LinkedIn, why not? I'll
yeah.
pop the links in the show notes, of course, with all the contact links and the various websites and the links to the magazine. It'll be full this week, the link list. And remember, you can find today's transcription and the show notes on the retailadvisor.ie. Linda, it has been an absolute pleasure. I have a feeling we might have to do part 2 of this, but for
I would hope
today,
so.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure. Really, my pleasure. Thank you.